Hi everyone! So a few classes ago we did a written rhythm review that I know a lot of you wanted to know how you did, and overall I wanted to tell you that you did very well. But that being said, we did have some things that tripped us up a little bit, so I wanted to take some time to talk about that with you. So the first thing that we had some issues with was adding a dot to a note, specifically adding a dot to a quarter note. So if you have a quarter note with a dot on it, what does that mean? Think about it for a second. If you're thinking that adding a dot adds half of that note value, then you are correct. So if you have a dotted quarter note, that equals how many eighth notes? If you thought or said 3, you are correct. So if you have a half note, which is 2 quarter notes, within it, you have 2 beats. So if you add a dot to that, how many quarter notes are there? 3. So it's going to be 3 beats long. So I wrote down some examples. This is what they would equal to. I wrote the beats also for them so you could try to count it out, except for on the bottom one because it might get a little confusing and I didn't think we really need to talk about that. But I had that in there just so you could see an example. So you can pause it if you want to see it more clearly, but that's the idea. So I have a few examples that I want you to write down and work on really quickly. Write these down. And then work on them. And I want you to write the beats and count them out. It's a little tricky, but you'll get the hang of it. It just takes some extra practice. So pause this if you want to see some extra, well, if you want to see it for an extra amount of time. Then we're going to move on. So hopefully you paused it, you did those practice things, and now you're coming back, and I'm going to tell you a few more things that you can do to practice with this. So if you turn to page, Page 26 and 27, these will look very familiar. Oh, in your artistry and strings book. These pages are going to look very familiar because we already played through them, but you're already used to it. That's great. Just play through them a bit more and practice counting them. So if you have a half note and you add the dot, it's what? Tell me. 3 quarter notes. Right, because you add the extra. If you have a dotted quarter note, then you have the 3 eighth notes. Practice that, count through that, look at these pages, they'll be helpful to you. So the next thing that we had some trouble with in the review was syncopation, which is completely fine because we just began learning about it, so it would make sense that everyone needs a little bit more practice with it. So syncopation overall is what? If you're thinking, or saying out loud, however you're watching this video, that it's when you play something that's not emphasizing the downbeats, the main beats, then you are correct. So typically, at least when we're starting right now, that's things starting with eighth notes. If you're in 4/4, if the main beat gets a quarter note, an eighth note is not going to be the full beat. So you might get something like, it's going to sound a little bit wonky when you stomp your foot along with it, trying to get an idea for where the beat is. You'll have some trouble trying to find the beat. So I have some examples. Now, these aren't completely syncopated, but there is some syncopation in them. For example, in the first one, in the second measure, there's syncopation. So write that down, try to figure these out, and get an idea for syncopation. The bottom one might look familiar because the bottom one was actually in your exercise that we did in class. So if you got that one correct, if you were pretty confident with that, then good, you should already have that. So write this down, practice this. Pause it if you need to see it because I'm going to move on. And then go back to your string artistry book. After you've already done that, you got an idea for counting out those rhythms. Look at page 28 and 29. Again, we've already played through this in class, so you're already comfortable with these pages, but practice through them a bit on your own too. Get an idea for it. And practice counting out the rhythms too, even though there isn't necessarily a blank spot to write in things, and you shouldn't write in your book anyways, but you could write on a piece of paper if you want to, or just count them out loud. It's good practice. All over page 28, there's syncopated rhythms. So practice those. So overall, those are the only two things that we had some trouble with, but I know that after this video, it's going to be perfect. But good job. Thank you for watching this video, and continue practicing. Happy practicing, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.